Hello and welcome to Harlan is in Danger. This is a special intermission episode after our completion, I won't say successful completion, of the Carcosa campaign before we move on to the Forgotten Age. My name is Tom. I don't have another name that you might know me as, and I'm joined by my guest and co-host and good friend, Mitch. Hi, Mitch. You're also known as something.
I'm also here.
Also here. That's right. Okay. Ooh, that is a lot harder. I watch you do that every time at the beginning of these videos. I was a mess. I'm sorry.
That's all right. You did great. You remembered everything. You were just like having to remember it all as it was happening.
Yeah. I'm good at live. You know, I'm not good at the. I'll do it on the day, not on the script.
Yeah. Well, do you want me to kind of help recover you a little bit?
Yes, please recover me.
So today what we're going to do is, like Tom said, it's our intermission episode. So we're going to kind of recap our thoughts on how the campaign went. So we're going to talk about the story and also our experiences through Carcosa. And then we'll talk about Forgotten Age, because that's next. And we'll discuss some of the rules and ideas that we have for that going forward. We'll share our decks at the very end. This video might be a little bit longer than the last one because we've been talking about how it might be fun to just kind of have a more relaxed session and just chat and not really worry about like getting it under like 15 minutes or whatever, and just kind of share kind of openly, because I think there's also precedence for it as well, since I'm sure most of you don't really know our extended thoughts on a lot of the Arkham campaigns, so we thought you might be interested to just hang out and listen along. So And I guess now thinking about it, it's kind of maybe not a great idea to start with Carcosa because it's not our favorite campaign. In fact, it ranks pretty low. But we actually had a lot of good fun this time. So, yeah, we'll start there.
Yeah. So we were kind of talking a little bit before we started recording, and I said, all right, let's just get going because I want to kind of do this live. So this was probably the most fun I've had playing through the Carcosa campaign. So,
agreed.
Hey, that's great. And it's funny because I kind of thought it was going to be, because I just finished reading The King in Yellow, the Chambers book. That's not why this was the most fun playthrough of Carcosa. I think like about halfway through when Zoe died, I was like, I'm still not having fun with Carcosa. All right. Even though I'm appreciating the literary references in these scenarios. But then, like, I don't know, I guess it kind of started picking it up. I let go of my moop a little bit and was just like, I'm just going to enjoy these scenarios. And I really do I think, like, mechanically, I really appreciate these scenarios. I think they're very interesting mechanically
sound
as scenarios. Yeah, they're very sound. And I definitely can see, having played this campaign, I think this is like my 6th or 7th time playing through it now. Having played it that many times, I think I'm starting to like really be like, okay, this does feel like a tight mechanic. This does feel like it's really well oiled, and while pushing me in a certain direction, still giving me freedom to engage with this in different ways. So, like, I don't know, just having Agnes's weakness add Doom to an agenda in Black Star's Rise and being like, which one do I want to advance? And then still ending up taking horror because I didn't know which one I wanted to advance. I don't know, that was like a new dilemma for the Agnes's dark memory weakness that I had never really encountered before. So that was good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have, I think, similar sentiments about it. This was definitely the most fun I've played. I've not played it that often, though. I think I've played it through all the way maybe twice before this one, so this is probably my 3rd time. But I've made, like, because that doesn't include the attempt we made where we got halfway through and died, and then that's the end. Because I've done that a couple of times with it.
Same.
Yeah, and that's funny.
I'm counting those in my 6 or 7 playthroughs. 6 or 7 times through the first half of Carcosa, maybe 4, 3 or 4 through the back half. So, which is a shame because the scenarios I think are better in the back half too. I think I just really enjoy them more as well.
Yeah, I think, and this is like in talking with like my family, my sisters and stuff in our group. we really like all the scenarios individually. It's like the story that connects them that it can be kind of, I don't know, a bit less ideal. So, like, to give an example, like, I had to teach everybody like Carcosa, and I didn't understand it myself. And there's a lot of scenarios that are doing something that's incredibly simple, but the way it's described to you just feels like it's not intuitive at all. So, like, I remember finishing up Echoes of the Past, and I might have mentioned this somewhere before, but I remember taking like a good like 35-40 minutes just reading through it and being like, why are they taking clues and turning to doom, but then it doesn't go onto the agenda until something else happens? What does that mean? Why is it like that? That's just so odd. And then I remember after the scenario was done, driving home and being like, oh, duh, it's like the cultists are just like collecting clues, just like you are as an investigator. But they can't collect clues, they can collect doom, so it's the equivalent of that. And I feel like if they had just like put some line of text that just said, look, basically the cultists are investigators and they're your opposition, then I think it would have like clicked faster instead of like me having to like rummage through the thing. And a part of that I feel comes from like I know it's mostly like on me to like read through everything and just comprehend it, but I think with board games in particular, there's like already a lot of other things I have to like micromanage and think about when I'm trying to set it up and teach people. And so everyone was
Yeah.
looking at me like, explain this scenario to me, and I was like, I don't know, it's weird. That's basically what I have for you. So that was a
Yeah.
bit, yeah, I don't know. Like I appreciated the novelty when I discovered that afterwards, but then like in the moment it was just such a huge hurdle to get past.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think we've talked a lot about Carcosa between you and me, and I think we have a lot of the same complaints, with different reasons, I guess. One of the things that really I remember, like after my first playthrough with my partner of Carcosa, she really didn't like the scenario or any of the kind like the story at all, because like she was like, and like I was like, we were trying to figure out why, and she eventually said something along the lines of like, there's no one for me to get attached to. Like, there's
Yeah.
no other character for me to engage with. It's just me. I'm just hyper fixated on whether I'm a crazy person. But then there's also you. She's referring to me,
Right, right.
the other player at the table. And it's like, it kind of, when you're not playing true solo, it kind of shatters that, well, am I crazy sort of thing a little bit. And you're just starting to
Hmm.
be like, well, this is kind of silly. Because, but also, like, we're not characters, we're like players, which is, I don't know, there's something like
Yeah.
sticky there. We don't have like a guide guiding us through here, so instead we're just x amount of players that are all questioning our sanity in exactly the same way, which, I don't know, it's maybe one of those things that like only starts to fall apart when you look too closely at it, and I should just let go of it and appreciate it, that it's just a board game with some interesting mechanics. But
No,
I've
I
never
mean,
really been able to shake that. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, there's lots of reasons why you'll play through games, and I do think that, you know, the developers clearly took a lot of time to think through these decisions, and they're very thoughtful in those decisions. So I don't think I wouldn't say it's a bad thing to kind of interrogate that a little bit. I mean, yeah, I guess at the end of the day you can let it go if it helps, but yeah, it's worth poking at from time to time. To kind of like bounce off of that, like I also feel the same way in that kind of frustration of being like, I'm just not really attached. Like, and for me, it can have a tendency to bleed into this era where it's just like, well, maybe you're crazy and it's spooky times, as opposed to like providing like a good justifiable reason for something. It's just like, you're in Paris now, and it's like, why? Like, I get you gave like kind of a semblance of a reason, but I don't really even trust myself. And so it gets to the point where you stop trusting everything, and then you just stop trusting that the designer has like an actual thoughtful like narrative to tell it all. It's just like, you make up the answers, and I kind
Yeah.
of just like, eh. And maybe
Yeah,
it's
no,
that's not the case, but it gives off that vibe.
it's the same thing like when you're doing metafiction, right? Like
Yeah.
if you're a person in the audience or reading
Hmm.
metafiction, you start to stop trusting the storyteller because that's
Right.
what they want you to do. They're like, I'm an unreliable narrator. You're like, well, I don't trust you then. And it's like, if you do it too much, it like breaks. If you
Yeah.
break the fourth wall too much, it really just breaks the immersion of the person experiencing it. And I feel like that's something that I've definitely struggled with Carcosa in the past.
Yeah.
Um, and that's, I think, not even really touching on the controversy around like the is it good that we're making lunatics and people in asylums spooky, which I worked, one of my first jobs was in like a haunted asylum, as like an actor in a haunted asylum,
Huh.
and it was problematic. Even then, like I don't know. I remember like talking to someone about it who had like a mentally handicapped sibling, and they were just like, "This is really kind of uncomfortable for me to talk with you about," and I was just like, "Yeah, this is actually really uncomfortable for me to do now that I'm actually thinking about it. Like, this is it's a really messed up and like sticky subject, and I don't know.
Yeah.
So I think like and then I don't know. I don't want to step on anyone's feelings about this, but I'm always just really, really uncomfortable, like especially in Unspeakable Oath, which is like mechanically should be really interesting. Like it's a potential mid-campaign loss, which is kind of an interesting thing, but it just always feels so like icky for me to just be going in there and beating up patients because
Right.
these are just people that need help. And like I get that that's maybe supposed to be what's scary, but I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
it's definitely teeters, and I mean the fact that Fantasy Flight went back and was like, maybe we should change some of the language with it to see if that
Yeah.
helps. Like I definitely respect the fact that they were thinking about it and like, yeah, maybe we should be a little more conscientious. I also don't feel like the change. I don't know. I guess it didn't seem to do much for me. Like the end result is the same. They're like, oh, they're possessed now. It's like, but I'm still like hacking up someone who's like in need of help. And that's like a harder
Yeah.
thing to swallow than like a mobster who's like doing this because he's paid to do it and he's been given orders. And like also it's kind of ridiculous because there's a conglomeration of spheres like crawling around the environment and they're killing people too. So it's not just all on me. And so I kind of like fighting monsters or mobsters or things like that as opposed to it's like it does get a bit uncomfortable. What I will say though is that I do feel like there are some points in which the narrative does work. That part where you do like I like it when someone gets killed in the asylum and they get taken in, and then there's that brief scene where they're gonna do like a lobotomy, and then like it's just like it's this really gruesome like horrific thing, and it's done differently than other Arkham stuff because usually your biggest threat is being like possessed by some kind of elder god, and this is just
Yeah.
like no, it's really just humanity not really taking the time or exercising enough sensitivity to understand like your perspective and what's happening to try to like solve that. They're just like, well, we'll just keep trying this solution even though it doesn't work. And that's like ooh, kind of dark to think about, like the fact that you would be surrounded by a group of people who just wouldn't bother to care or like think that far ahead. And even like the nurse's reaction, she's like cringing from it because she's like, oh, this is going to go bad. But at the same time, it's like this is her job. She's a single mom or whatever, right? And so you're thinking through this scenario in which this could happen, and how it's kind of grounded in things in history. It's like, but and I like that moment because that's such a grounding moment. Even though it's so dark, it's just kind of like it seems like that is showing the true heart of like it's kind of a bad time. It's a bad era, and there's a true horror in what humanity does to itself that goes beyond what's what would be out there. So I do think that salvages quite a bit for me because like scenario one is just like you look over and then like the audience member next to you is this like bleeding skeleton, and it's like it's cool as a spark of intrigue, but then it just keeps doing that throughout the whole campaign, and you're like, what is going on? Nothing is going on but this kind of induced insanity. So like a grounding moment like that, I don't know, that kind of helps put in perspective like because I don't think it's like pushing necessarily any idea. It's just sort of like, well, here's an outcome, and it's like, oof, that hurt.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Like, and I don't. Yeah, I kind of want to move away from this because I don't know if I'm going to say anything intelligent about it. But I just remember. I think like that heaviness. Okay, hold on. I'm gonna go back to mechanics. We're talking about a game here. But one of the things, slight spoilers for Edge of the Earth. But one of the things I really liked about how they did do possessed folks in Edge of the Earth was that they had like a parlay mechanism or like an evade mechanism would remove them from the board.
Yeah.
So it was less like I don't know, like the only choice to engage with the psychopath or lunatic enemies is to shoot them, right?
Yeah.
Like that's kind of, and if you leave them alone, it's like you can kind of do that, but then there's cards in the encounter deck that are like they chase after you, and they hurt themselves when they touch you, and it's like it's like I don't know. Enough about this. Like, this is something that I think the community at large is still kind of discussing, and I just wanted to, I guess, add my voice to the cacophony of that discussion. So,
Likewise. Yeah, I mean, I think it's good to have the conversation. Is it sensitive? Is it not? And what are the ways in which it succeeds and when it doesn't? And, like,
yeah,
you know, there should be room to have a discourse, and there should be room to kind of change your mind and be like, oh, I don't know, and subsequent playthroughs feel differently about it. I mean, that happens. Like, I think it's better than the alternative, which is just playing through it and just never thinking about it and just being like, oh, whatever, it doesn't matter, it's just a game. It's like, yeah, it's just a game, but, like, also, you think about that.
Let's think about that. But anyways, moving on to the actual, like, the just a game part. After the Asylum, I, like, just engaging with the mechanics, I really did it. I think I had a blast playing Agnes.
Likewise.
Just because I was playing Agnes. So, but I think those scenarios felt really good. I think, like, we actually started doing really good, and, like...
Yeah, and then it just went south. Really.
And then...
It was just, like, the most harshest fall from grace ever.
Tim Carcosa was really bad, and
it was awful. It just slaughtered us. I was like, "What is going on?" I'm trying.
I think I told you this after we finished recording the other day, but there was a moment, like, I think it was like 2 turns in, where I was like, if Mitch says that we should just restart this entire game, I will not stop. I will say, let's do it. And then you kept playing, and I was like, well, I'm not going to be the one to do it. So.
Yeah, it didn't occur to me to do that. I guess, like, if we had been bombarded, like turn 1 with enemies, and, like, we were just, like, and there was no avenue, like, it looked like we had an avenue to recover, so that's why I didn't think of it, is I was just like, well, I've got a strange solution, or, like, oh, it's coming up, or, like, I've got a few things, it's tense right now, we just need the counter deck to ease up, and the chaos bag to be a little bit nicer, and it just was not interested in doing either of those things, and so...
I don't know. Yeah. I felt like I knew we'd lost after turn 2.
You were much more prescient about that scenario than I was then.
Yeah, I think it was, and then there was, like, the moment where, what was it, that big old enemy, the big, like, the victory point enemy that I killed just by taking horror over 4 phases or something like that. I think, like, after I finished beating that guy, I, like, muted myself for a second and just put my head on the table because I was just like, this isn't gonna work. We're gonna die.
I had no idea that it was, like, so, like, that it was getting to you so much, because I was just going, like,
I was laughing, but it was just like, no, and like, that's the thing, is, like, I started to pick up, like, you were looking for ways out, you were looking for ways to pull a win out.
I was trying.
I was just like, it's not happening. I don't want to say this to you, but it's not happening.
Yeah, usually I feel like we're on a similar wavelength, but that time it was totally different. And I guess that's that thing I forget about Rex, is that he just has such, like, I was egregious Rex to the max, basically. The only thing I didn't have was higher education, but I had Milan. I was using his reaction multiple times a scenario if I felt like I wanted it. And even then, we got completely slaughtered. It's that thing where Rex is fine up until, like, something doesn't go his way. And when that happens, the game is just going to kill him, and there's nothing to be done about it. And, yeah, so I think I was kind of... Because I've played him, like, 2 or 3 times now, and I'm kind of like, no more Rex. Like, this is annoying. I mean, he's fun in groups, because then it's like someone's there to, like, protect him. But, like, they have to be dedicated to that through and through, and they need to be ready from turn 1. And even then, it's like, if something goes wrong, like, what if they get a crypt chill or something, then it's like the whole party's in a really desperate situation. I think I actually had that happen when I did Zoe and Rex through Dream Eaters B for the League. I remember I had the 2 of them, and one scenario just went really south, and I was like, wow, that's so weird, how did that happen? And so now I think it's finally clicked that, yeah, Rex is, he's got his vulnerabilities, and you'll notice if you play him.
Yeah, I don't know. So I don't play a lot of Seekers, and I saw you do. I feel like I saw in the Excelsior Hotel episode, I was just watching Rex and Daisy, like, pick up 6 or 7, 8 clues a turn, and just being like, this is dumb. You guys are trivializing this. I just want to hit things with a bat. But then, yeah, there's also, like, kind of some gratification in watching Rex just fall on his butt a couple times trying to take out a Spectre of Death, or
Right.
still just not accepting that Haster had us. It was over.
Yeah. The encounter
And
deck was
then
playing exposed weakness on me.
yeah, that's that's okay. I got to kill us though, so I didn't give Haster the satisfaction. So
That's right. Yeah, it was a good time. Yeah, I think I'm still overall my thoughts are mixed, but I do have like a positive experience playing Carcosa. Really exciting things did happen this campaign. Like Zoe died, and then the next scenario, Rex defeated himself by attacking the creature at the beginning of the catacombs. That was really cool. And then the crash and burn at the very end. So there was like some really fun twists that happened in the campaign. I think like the place I'm at with it is in Black Stars Rise. Like I liked figuring out what was going on, but now that I know the game is less confusing, which feels good, but I also feel like I know the magician's trick, which feels bad. So now I'm kind of like, I'm not sure where that's going to leave me the next time I revisit it, but I know that I'm a little bit more, I'm a little bit more inclined to play it again than I was before.
yeah, I think it's interesting. I think like Black Stars Rise and Echoes of the Past both have this thing where you figure them out, and you're like, oh, cool, I'm gonna look closer at that, but also I'm a little sad that I figured this trick out. Right?
Yeah.
And it's weird. And this is another thing. Oh God, I'm gonna start yelling at Carcosa again, and people are gonna start yelling at me. But it's this weird thing of like, if I knew how it worked, I would appreciate it the first time I went through. But the second time I go through and I know how it works, I don't appreciate it as much because it's not as confusing. It's this weird.
Yeah.
Like, there's a really specific place you have to be in, and I think like one of the reasons I enjoyed this playthrough so much is I hadn't played like this back half of Carcosa in so long because you and I died the last time we played together, and I don't know. It was like, oh yeah, these are scenarios that I haven't really played. I can't really remember how this works. I think we have to either go, like, I know we go either up or down in Black Stars Rise, but I don't really remember what that looks like.
Right. Yeah.
So we were like, because we figured out, like, we're like, okay, we're supposed to go up, and you were like, all right, so we put it on this one, right? And I was like, yeah, that's probably right.
Yeah, I mean, because you don't want it to go so far into the realm where you're just gaming this system.
Yeah.
And I think that's what happens, especially with Echoes of the Past, is you can just game that scenario. Just kill the cultists, make sure they don't have an inch. If you can do that, then the scenario just loses all of its teeth. It can't do anything because there's no other way for them to get Doom. And so, I think Black Stars Rise is maybe resist that a little bit more. I don't know. I think, so I'm less bothered at people criticizing my opinion of Carcosa. So maybe I'll say that I feel like the lows in Carcosa are like significant. Like, and I think people, it sounds like, because I've been listening to like some people talk about it, and they were like, oh yeah, like there's that one scenario that kind of sucks, or there's like a couple that are kind of bad, or they're gimmicky or whatever, but the rest of it's good. And I'm like, this sounds like stuff I've heard said about Forgotten Age. It's like a similar kind of sentiment, and like Forgotten Age has its problems too.
No, it doesn't.
Heart of the Elders is not.
It's a fantastic scenario.
No, it's not. This sucks. That's like the worst Arkham scenario.
Beyond.
Oh man,
Boundary Beyond, my favorite scenario.
I actually do like Boundary Beyond. It's tough though. That scenario is like, oh, you want to play Arkham? It's like, I thought I did.
The answer is supposed to just be yes, because that's what you sat down to do.
Right.
It doesn't fuck around, actually, that's a really good segue into talking about Forgotten Age, if you want to do that. Or if you have more to say about Carcosa, I'll let you. But
nah, we'll let the chat get upset if they feel so inclined, and we can carry on the conversation there. I'm sure we'll revisit it when we play the campaign again, and maybe we'll have new thoughts to share, but I think that's a good amount for now.
Yeah. And I actually, so this is something that I want to, when we play Circle Undone, because I know you don't have as much experience with that one.
Yeah.
I want to know how you think this compares to Carcosa, or that Carcosa compares to that, because I think I like Circle Undone more, but I feel like I've also said a couple times either here or like in some comments or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Circle Undone is a very average campaign. Like it's good, but because it's Arkham, but that's really what it has going for it. But I think I still kind of like it more than Carcosa, and I don't really know why. So I'm curious to. And we've never played that one together. So.
We've not. I've not actually finished that one. I've done the first like 4 or 5 scenarios of it, and then I end up not being able to finish it for whatever reason. So it's a very weird. The last time I tried it was solo, and I just got really bored after that one with the graveyard. That one was like, that had so many like technical layers. It was like, I'm done, and then it was like, nope, part 2, and I was like, okay, so now I'm done. It was like part 3, and I was like, oh man. Anyways, but yeah, we'll have to talk about that one when it shows up later. But yeah, I have really actually, spoilers. I have pretty interesting thoughts on that campaign though. It's very different. It's very hard to get like a footing with it.
It's weird.
It's very weird. And it's like this one though, in a lot of ways.
I'm excited to play it on the channel and like forget everything and like have like watch back on our videos and be like, no, you made a mistake. No, you made a mistake for like an hour and just feel like that. So.
Well, we kept forgetting the mob this time. I was like, the mob. I got to do that. Yeah.
Every scenario we caught it eventually, and most of the time we caught it late. The mob wasn't showing up anyways, so it was fine. But,
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, we're gonna move on to a good campaign now. Indisputably good.
The best one. Maybe, actually, yeah. Maybe still my favorite, yeah.
It's still tied with a couple others, and I'm not sure, kind of, my feelings kind of shift in the matter, but yeah, I'm super looking forward to it. I love playing Forgotten Age, especially in the summer, because I don't actually like the summer where it's nice and hot, but like, to play Forgotten Age in it, it's perfect, because it feels like you're just like, it's humid and mucky, and you're just navigating the jungles.
Yeah. No, you're right. I feel like I play it every summer and just like, I'm like, oh yeah, the sweat. I can feel it.
Yeah, I love all the preparation. I love the supply mechanic. I love where it's like, okay, like you're going for an expedition. Are you prepared? And then you strategize the deck, and then you strategize the supplies, and then you strategize like how you're going to play it, and just everything is like, okay, we're going to do this. And then your plans go awry because it has, and this one, well, we'll definitely have to talk about more, but it definitely has the best chaos bag, I would argue, than any other.
Yeah.
Because it's very much just like, either you're going to pass or you're going to fail. It's got less tokens, and then it's got that flipping -5, and that's perfect.
I love that -5 so much. Like,
it's great.
I think playing these earlier scenarios, like when the -5 showed up in Dunwich, I was like, I haven't prepared for this. I'm not ready for this. Like the math is just weird. But in Forgotten Age, for some reason, it's just like, if I'm really good, I'll just pass, and if I'm not, I can always fail. Like I have a really good chance of failing. So.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, do we want to talk about? Is it our decks next, or the
So next we should probably talk about just like the things that kind of got carried over from Carcosa.
Okay, so what happened was Haster had us in his grasp, which means that, but we had more conviction, and the conviction part is what's sending us to TFA, because we believed that it was the truth, it was the right thing to do, right?
I think that's how it works. I don't have the things in front of me, but I'm pretty sure, because Haster had us in his grasp and we had more conviction, we're going to Forgotten Age. I think it would have been...
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember how this works. Oh, God.
The other way, if we had more doubt, we would have been to... Let's see.
Dream Eaters? Is that right? No, that was Unspeakable Oath.
I'm not sure.
That would have been back to Dunwich.
Back to Dunwich? Oh, and then there was like a backup plan.
Wait, did we... How did this work? We actually went to Dunwich. Hold on. We went to Dunwich. We were supposed to get...
We were supposed to go to Dunwich?
Was it? Is that how it happened? I haven't... this was a week ago. All right, let's just cut all this and let's just go from... We're going to Forgotten Age and... Again, to go to like the Ultimate Agony.
Yeah, so the investigators had more conviction than doubt, and so that means we have the Ultimatum of Agony with us. So as much damage and horror as possible has to be assigned to a single card before you can assign it to another card. So if somebody's taking a hit, they're taking the whole thing. Because you have conviction, you're just going to brute force the whole thing.
Yeah.
But as a kind of compliment, we gain 1 copy of Stick to the Plan. Its ownership is shared and it doesn't belong to any individual investigator. And then during setup, each investigators must place an even amount of cards as possible from their decks. So we both get at least 1, and then the other person gets the 3rd card. And you can only use it once per turn, just like regular Stick to the Plan, but either of us can use it at any point. So kind of like the Strange Solution, which honestly I think it is better that the card is shared. I think that looks kind of weird for Strange Solution to have it be like assigned to a deck. So
yeah,
I don't know.
I agree. I think we were talking about this when we were talking about what we wanted for these resolutions, and I think we both must have thought about the Restorative Concoction Strange Solution and been like, yeah, it was weird that Zoe had that, and then it just kind of disappeared because Zoe died.
Yeah, that was really odd. Not what I foresaw happening, but it did.
Yeah, and then like I don't know, it was because like Rex could have had it, but we were like, but then Rex wouldn't be able to have any other Strange Solutions, right? Because you can only have max 2 per deck, so it doesn't really make sense so it was like it was this weird sort of like we don't really want this. Like neither of us really wanted it, and then Zoe lost it, and we were like, fine. So
yeah, but I mean we learned, and so yeah, I think we'll try it this way because this is also good because it means that I can actually still buy Stick to the Plan if I want it, because I'm going to be playing a Guardian this time, so I will have access to that.
Yeah. Was there anything else that we had for? Oh yeah, we just got to go over what we bought with our final VP.
That's right. Yeah, let me do that first because otherwise we'll forget. So we didn't actually have any story cards from Carcosa that weren't weaknesses. And, we thought about buying weaknesses, but who needs those?
Yeah, I think, like, there's, like, an interesting argument to be made for, like, maybe we even get a VP for, like, buying a weakness and, like, just shuffling it into our pool. But, like, Lost Soul doesn't really work outside of Carcosa unless we just remember that we have more conviction than doubt. And you can't really make it in your random basic weakness shuffler very easily. So, I don't know.
Yeah.
If anyone wanted to try seeing what it would be like to put Lost Soul or any of the campaign specific weaknesses as their random basic weakness in their deck for a VP or something, or like an additional weakness or something like that, that might be interesting, and I'd be interested to see how that worked. I'm not going to do it though, because another thing, going back to complaining about Carcosa, there's just too many weaknesses.
There's a lot.
So many. I don't want to see anymore. I don't want to look at weaknesses anymore.
Yeah, there's a lot of weaknesses and a lot of... Yeah, I think part of, too, just as a kind of final comment, I remember playing that campaign. I think I've done it twice now and taking Jim and thinking to myself, there's 3 skulls. 3 skulls. And, like, half of the time the skull does something, like, really strange in which it doesn't help Jim at all. Like, it didn't matter what the modifier was. It's so infuriating. Which is more of a problem with Jim than it is with Carcosa, but still.
What are you talking about? Jim's great.
Yeah, that's right. He's a master craftsman.
Never misses a shot.
Never misses a shot.
Maybe once or twice.
So I had 8 VP at the end, and you had, I think, 2. So collectively, we were able to get 2 new investigators. I picked up Leo Anderson, and you got Minty Fan. So we have both of them to kind of complement us for the trip. So yeah, not too much to report on. We still have, because now we have Forgotten Age investigators, we can buy Ursula, Finn, Father Mateo, and Calvin at some point as well.
And we still have a good chunk of the Carcosa investigators left over, and a single Dunwich and a single Corset investigator left over who want to play those too. So neat.
Good options.
Yeah. Do you want to? Should we just go straight to the decks? Because I think this is kind of going to be where the most fun is going to happen today.
Yeah.
I think we've made folks wait long enough to see our decks.
Agreed. So this is my Leo deck, resurrected from the grave, because I have built this deck. I built it years ago, actually, when Forgotten Age first came out, and I was super excited to play Leo. For whatever reason, he seemed really cool. And at the time, what I wanted the deck to do was not really feasible, and so I ended up kind of tabling it. And so it was fun to go back and kind of strategize how I'm going to make it work. It's called Ghost Neo because the idea is going to do a lot with engagement and kind of pulling myself away from enemies and then shooting them in the back. So that'll be a lot of fun. Right now, we're not going to see that for a couple scenarios because I need the VP to get it started, but I just have some basic tech. We got the 41 Derringers and the machete. The reason I went with 41 Derringers is that it gives me +2 combat, and I only get extra damage if I succeed by 2 or more, but I still deal 1 damage if I just succeed. And so, since the Chaos Bag is either -5 or like -1 and pretty easy, I figured it would make more sense to just make sure I'm at least succeeding things to deal consistent damage rather than miss and like shoot you or something.
Yeah.
I also took 2 guard dogs. We got good old Mitch Brown and Venture with me. And then 2 copies of Safeguard so I can keep up with you. Thanks, courtesy of Nathaniel Cho's starter deck. And then I have 2 copies of Let Me Handle This and 2 copies of You Handle This One. Because I don't have Fool Me Once.
Yeah, no, I like this. This is interesting. Okay.
So
okay.
I figured, basically, if it's going to be a snake bite and I don't have cover, you're going to have to handle that because I ain't getting poisoned that way.
Sure.
But I figured you got high agility. You can handle that.
Yeah. Or, you can send You Handle This One to me, and then you can say, let me handle this one as well. And then you can get the boost. Yeah, so there you go.
Yeah, and I'm more than happy to take Lost in the Wilds and Willpower stuff. That's what this is going to come in clutch for. Or just pull an enemy off of you so you have a free turn. That sounds like a good plan.
Sure. That's interesting. Okay, cool.
I did grab 2 copies of evidence just in case I happen to kill something and need to pick up an odd clue, but also 2 intellect icons might be helpful, especially starting off where we need to talk to Ichitaka.
Talk to a certain lady in the woods. Yeah.
Yep. I also, per your request, picked up 2 copies of Stand Together, so we each get 2 resources. Nice buddy cop card. I also need some economy, so that's great. And then what I'm going to do is put Prepared for the Worst for my Stick to the Plan to make sure I get my weapon. And then I thought we would share Teamwork because that might be... I mean, I don't know exactly how we're going to use that, but might come in handy. You never know.
Yeah, definitely.
I think our test idea was that I would get all the bullets from Venture and then send them over to you so he can just be soaked for you.
Yeah, and I think that makes sense. Okay, cool. Oh, man.
And basic skills: Guts, Overpower, Quick Thinking, Unexpected Courage, and Vicious Blow. And then Paranoia for my weakness, which I've had before, so I have to deal with it again.
It's following you.
All right, should we take a look at yours?
Just real quick, I wanted to say I like this deck, and I think when we look at my deck, you're going to see that I'm making a lot of the same choices. So
well, let's find out.
Interesting. All right, so this is my Safina Rousseau deck. I'm building myself to be the Kluver because I'm trying to be more dedicated as Kluver. I don't think I'm going to do much enemy management at all. So I grabbed some flashlights from my hands. That's going to help me get clues. Rite of Steekings for my arcanes, also going to help me get clues. I grabbed St. Hubert's Key so that, I can actually have some book. And I realized that Safina had 9 sanity. So, this is pretty easy for her to work around the downside of. So I'm feeling pretty good about that.
Good call.
I grabbed Fine Clothes. I don't know how long these are going to stick in, but they are some soak, and they can each take a heart and soul. So I can, whenever that Ultimatum of Agony comes into play, this is just all right. Well, Fine Clothes was going to die if I put anything on it, so I can put 2 things on it. So
that's smart.
And then I grabbed Joey the Rat.
Joey the Rat. Okay.
Yeah. Biggest reason I grabbed Joey the Rat is he soaks for 3 damage. So
nice.
That's really mostly it. But the other thing is I wanted to make sure that I could get. I am interested in playing around with the spend 1 resource to play an item fast. I don't know how much I'm going to do it, but because he's ultimately, I think, as soon as we have access to her, going to become Lola Santiago, so I can buy clues. Yeah. My thought process was he spends some money as well, so I'll kind of be building up my economy for that idea. We'll see how it works. Then I grabbed some Liquid Courage to heal some horror for both of us. We both have pretty good willpower, so that's probably going to be a good card. I can play it fast with Joey the Rat. I grabbed Lone Wolf Yeah, I don't know. This is probably gonna get cut, but I grabbed one of them. So,
Yep.
and then I grabbed some painkillers to deal with the odd damage here and there.
Hmm.
And then I can take some painkillers, then chug some booze, and suffer no
Yeah.
ill consequences, which is something that you should not do in real life.
Don't try this at home, kids.
Don't try this at home. This is for Arkham characters only.
Well, especially Safina, she's got such low health at 5, so
Yeah.
yeah, that's a good call.
Yeah, and I can play him fast with Joey the Rat. So
I like it.
yeah, it's maybe good. My events package is a lot, but I grabbed an I'm out of here because there's a couple of places where you want to resign.
Mhm.
I also grabbed you handle this one so we can have that fun. You handle this one. No, you handle this one. No, you handle this one. Yeah. Yep. So I'm pretty excited about that. Then I grabbed some daring maneuvers as well. These are mostly in preparation, I think, for the lockpicks that I'll be getting later on. Yeah. Those will be happening pretty soon. But then I do have some quick thinkings as well. So we're both playing quick thinkings. So I can maybe get some extra actions. Choose some extra
anything to
actions
give
out of
us an
there.
extra action. Yeah.
Yeah. I like when I play rogues. I like playing them as fast as I can. So that's the plan.
Yeah.
Grab the delve too deep. Just a 1.
I like
maybe
it.
we'll get some extra VP. Maybe it'll get cut pretty quickly. I don't know.
We'll see.
Drawn to the Flame is my main clue-getting solution. So my big hope with this deck is that I get a Drawn to the Flame in my opening 13-card hand and can put it under Safina, so that I can Painted World it and get a lot of clues for the low cost of you handling an encounter card.
That's so interesting. Okay, I love that. That's great.
Yeah.
Huh.
So that's like Rite of Seeking. Maybe will make work. Flashlights. I mean, maybe I can get my book to a good enough level that I can make a flashlight work. But really, it's all about Drawn to the Flame in this deck. That's what this is built around. So.
Okay.
The one tactic in my deck is Elusive, so that's what's going to go on the stick to the plan for me.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of, I was doing like some test draws with this deck, and I was like, I hate that I have to like say Elusive's not in my deck, because there was a couple times where I had like 4 events in my hand, in my opening 13-card hand, and it was like Elusive, and I was like, I have to redraw that because that's on stick to the plan, and I know it's on stick to the plan because I put it on there in this deck to go on stick to the plan. But it's okay. It's okay. It's just weird. Stick to the plan is kind of anti-synergistic with Safina, but that's fine.
Well, I mean, here's the other thing, though, is I don't know if I made it clear, but, like, either of us can use the cards on the stick to the plan. So I could use the Elusive, and then you could use, like, the Teamwork. Even though it's a Guardian card, you technically can't play it, but because it's on our shared stick to the plan, you can.
No, I know. The big thing is, though, is that it's taking an event out of my deck. Right, so Safina draws 13 cards, and she can put up to 5 events under her, and then if she has any more than 8 cards, she has to discard them. So there were times where I'd draw 13 cards, I'd have 4 events and an Elusive. I'd say, like, oh, I have to redraw this Elusive, and it would come back a Fine Close or something like that. So I'd only have 4 cards I could put under her, and then I'd have to discard them, which made me grouchy, but I'm not going to complain about it too much until it happens to me live. So yeah.
Fair enough.
Then I got some emergency cashes because I need money to pay Joey to put things into play fast and later to get clues. There's Painted World. That's the card that makes Safina work, and how I'm going to be drawn to the flame like 6 times the scenario. I grabbed Think on Your Feet as well, and I had this like weird realization with Think on Your Feet as I was looking at events that were in this card pool. I was like, this is just almost Word of Protection, but for enemies.
That's a good way to look at it. Yeah.
Yeah. So with this in play, you can end your turn at my location. Like, we can both end our turns at my location, and then I can draw an enemy, or you can draw an enemy in Mythos, and I can move away so my Lone Wolf works. Leave you with the enemy.
I see, because you don't even need to be the person who draws it, because it's when an enemy would spawn at your location. So
yeah.
Okay. That's a clever use of that. That sounds good.
Yeah, so we'll see how it works. I'm weirdly excited for this card that I've had in my collection for years now and never really played with. So we'll see if it works.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uncage the Soul is for
more money.
Rite of Seeking. It's for Rite of Seeking. I have a 1 of. I get disappointed when I have to put it under me. under Safina in the opening hand, because it's literally just there to play one Rite of Seeking, and then I'm happy with it being gone. So,
Okay.
and then Ward of Protections are Ward of Protections,
Yep.
because this is apparently an encounter deck control team that we put together.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
it's turned into. Nice.
Yeah, and then I got Quick Thinkings and Unexpected Courages, because I don't want to draw a lot, because I'm afraid of Stars Piatis. So
Yeah, that's fair. And then Mob Enforcer making a
Mob
return.
Enforcer followed me. Yep. You have to play a card from the deck you just played. That's the rule. And mine was Mob Enforcer and also Drawn to the Flame.
I love that the mob has dwindled down, but there's still one left. He's like, I'm not giving up.
Not
it was
done.
dumb.
That was our lounge. That was our place. You're going down.
There's always going to be a mob with us, I feel. If it's not the
I
mob
hope so.
enforcer, there's going to be some mobster who's just always hanging around us.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope they never forget what we did to their club.
Yeah. Well, this deck looks fantastic. I'm curious to see how it evolves, because, like, mine is going to look very different as it goes on. It's just kind of like, I've got a bunch of, I don't want to say placeholder things, but it's kind of like, well, this is a vaguish similar function until I can ratchet up some XP. I haven't fully formed it yet, because I do have, there's so many interesting ally choices, and for, like, different reasons. Like, I kind of want a cheap ally just so I can have my weakness hit it, but then, like, I want the pricey allies because of their effects. So there's still more to think about. I imagine your event suite is going to evolve over time as well. So I'll be curious to see how that develops. Because, like, Delve 2 Deep, you only take that for so long, especially in TFA. Like, there's a lot of XP in TFA. But this is the thing about TFA. You gotta, like, hit the ground hard. Like, you have to do a really good first scenario. Otherwise, you're in for a really rough campaign. So I think we both kind of learned that, and that probably explains some of the deck obsession right now.
Yeah. I don't know. I think we're gonna have a good time. I'm really excited. I mean, I'm just excited to play TFA again. I love this. I love Forgotten Age. It's my baby. I love snakes, and I love science and expeditions. Oh, I can have so much fun.
Yeah, I despise snakes in real life, but then it just makes it more thematically consistent with Indiana Jones, so it works out.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect.
And then the last thing I guess we'll cover before we go is that we're still figuring it out, but we kind of wanted to give just a little preview of what is it called? Is it the challenge or the condition?
Oh, yeah. The campaign-specific thing we're doing for this campaign versus the other campaigns, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
We need to come up with a term for that.
I don't I feel like we had one. I feel like we have to go back and check those videos and just say, like, the specific challenge. Like, you know what we're talking about. We're talking about the Swear Jar Carcosa, or the good advice we gave each other in Dunwich, or doing the Night of the Zealot in a night. Yeah. So for this campaign, we are going to be we're going to be pursuing more funding from the Miskatonic University by, at the beginning of every scenario, searching or shuffling the exploration deck, finding a location in it, and saying, this is the one that Miskatonic University wants us to clear of clues. Like, this is the one they want us to study. If we do that in the scenario, we will, if we get all the clues off that location in the scenario, we will each get a resource, just instant resource. Good, done. If we don't manage to do the thing they want us to do, don't manage to clear the clues off that location, the next scenario we will start with one less resource because they're cutting our funding. We think.
Yes, something. We're gonna keep toying with it, but something along those lines we thought would be fun. So that way we have a bit more incentive, because it's like, oh well, you could just get it and then get the money, but it usually puts you in some kind of dire state to go out of your way for a specific location. Like, it might not always be convenient to go after that location. And these things aren't necessarily to make it harder or easier. They're just there to make it more interesting. So, we'll keep tweaking it. But, yeah, something along those lines is probably what we're going to go with. It sounds fun. I definitely like the idea of getting Miskatonic University more engaged with the scenario and being like, we want this accomplished. And you're like, but I'm fighting for my life against snakes and poison.
It's like, too bad. We got to go to the Serpent's Haven again. Got to clear it. Have to do it.
Gotta get that booty.
Gotta get that we need more serpents in Massachusetts.
I was thinking like pirate booty, but sure.
No, they want the snakes if we're doing the Serpent's Haven. That's all that's at Serpent's Haven. Is just you just have to go grab a snake and bring it back to Massachusetts.
Crate full of snakes.
Crate full of snakes. Love that.
That would be funny if that location in particular just like spawns a bunch of snake people or something.
Yeah. Oh boy. Okay.
All right. Well, yeah.
Is there anything else? I think that's it. There might be a hiatus after this video because I'm moving to a new place, and I'm actually like gonna pack up my microphone and stuff tomorrow.
Yeah.
And hopefully we'll be back without too much delay or without any delay. We're kind of just also like, hey, we might take a couple week break between this campaign and the next one. So.
Yeah, I've had a pretty demanding school year, so it's finally coming to an end, and so I'm kind of like, oh, it'd be nice to sort of just take a little bit of a breather and kind of devote some attention to some other projects that I've been neglecting for a while. So it might be nice to kind of take a month off. You guys may not notice anything because at the time of this recording, the last video to come out was the intermission from last season. So actually all of Carcosa is done right now, but for you guys, you haven't seen a single episode yet. So you might not notice anything as the episodes get released, but yeah, we might want to give ourselves just a little bit of a breather so we're not stressed to try to get content out. It's better if we're just kind of relaxing and having a good time so you can just kind of roll with the vibes with us. So anyways.
Yeah, I get a little manic when we recorded 2 or 3 episodes in a weekend or something like that and just start laughing uncontrollably. So.
Yeah. I think we did that a little bit with Dunwich, was it? Yeah.
With Dim Carcosa, I was thinking, like, I think you said Haster in one of the things after I accidentally said Haster in, like, the introduction text, and you said Haster on, like, the actor and agenda, and I was like, ha! It got you, too! It's not just me!
Yeah, I was playing a very cautious game, and then it just was there, and I totally walked right into the trap. Hilarious.
Yeah, it was funny.
I
felt vindicated.
No, I'm glad that there was balance there. I was like, I'm supposed to make this error. I thought about making the error on purpose, and I had plenty of sanity soak. I should have just done that, but, I'm too like, but what if something happens and I die? I'm not going to die by sanity. I was never in danger of that, I don't think.
Nah, I killed us to health, yeah. I blew us up with a Storm of Spirits, which I still think was probably the best move we had.
It was. It really was.
But I like to think of me just being like, nah, we're dying here.
Just call down the stars and it kills us. We don't want to be taken by them.
Yeah. You don't get the satisfaction. You don't kill me, I kill me.
Only I have that power.
Okay.
Good times.
Good times.
All right, everyone. Well, thank you for joining us. We hope you enjoyed this discussion and our breakdown for the next season. So we'll see you then in the jungle. So come prepared with all your supplies, some extra sandwiches and coffee, whatever else you may need, and we will see you there.
Bye.